So, of course, breaking news as of like yesterday, the Democrats passed the $1.9 trillion watered down, decrepit stimulus without a single Republican vote. And the reason I'm pointing this out is because, like Pasta said, Nancy Pelosi keeps saying that Democrats are the enemy. AOC keeps going on Twitter talking about, how Republicans are the enemy, and AOC keeps doing the same thing on Twitter. But Congress actually passed this COVID relief bill, which is basically like a survival bill, right? And they passed this as of Wednesday, and then Joe Biden actually signed it right after. And so the plan includes like the unemployment, direct payments, tax credit expansions, vaccine distribution funds, and state and local government relief, of course. But this is, to me, this is one of the things that I think we really have to get into, because when Biden signed this bill, they're making it out to be that it's such a great thing. It's the greatest accomplishment. We've seen nothing like it before. And we're going to go over exactly why it's not on two fronts, right? We're going to go over why everything that the Democrats have told you that they couldn't do this, they couldn't negotiate anything more for people because of Republicans is entirely bullshit, because they have the majority. And not a single Republican voted in favor of the stimulus bill. While that proves that Republicans are staunch in their opposition of this bill, it also proves that the Democrats lied about actually needing their votes. And one of the things that I want to go over as to exactly what is in the stimulus, among them is the reduction of payments for unemployment for the UIA, and it went from 600 as initially proposed to 300. And then we had the federal $15 minimum wage entirely excluded. We had millions of dollars, $52 million to COBRA. We had the student loan debt forgiveness completely scrapped out of there. And we also had the lie that Biden and literally all the Democrats, including the Senate races in Georgia, who promised $2,000 and actually gave $1,400. So that is the premise of what people got. If you had a child, up to you got a certain amount as well. And then the difference this time is that they lowered the tier. So if you, or heightened the tier, however you want to look at it. So if you make $75,000 or less, you get the $1,400, but not if you make over that amount, which is actually stupid, because those are the people that need it the most, because some of those people lost their salary jobs and they have a mortgage, they have car payments, they have credit card payments, they have families that they have to support. So you're literally taking that away from them. The other added thing that people were talking about was the provision that if you are like a dependent adult, you are allowed to get some money, meaning like if you are like an elderly person that doesn't work, or a dependent adult like in college, you could be able to get some of the money. So that's just like a brief summary of what was done.
You know, I got to ask you a question, fam, right off the bat too, as well, because, you know, we're talking about this whole thing and I wrote something down, and the Republicans. Now, we say that the Republicans, we pointed out because of the fact that is that the Democrats are full of fugaziness, because they didn't need any Republicans to pass this bill, right? They own control of the House. They own control of the Senate. They have the White House. Technically, they should be able to put whatever they want out, whatever they promised, whatever they're really fighting for, and get it passed. But why do you think the Republicans voted no on this? Is it just because they're stingy or whatnot? Or, I mean, because we haven't got a lot of words or say for them yet. And I'm kind of interested because, once again, fam, this is another 800-page bill. And I understand there's going to be a lot of pork in this situation as we continue to go through this. In other words, tomorrow we'll learn more than we know today. You know what I'm saying? So I'm kind of curious to why a lot of the Republicans are going to say they didn't vote for this bill, and it's to see if we had some voices out there saying, why can't we just put forth a bill, 10, 11, 12 pages so the American people can understand it, be plain and simple, and give what's going on. If it's an 800-page bill, just like the CARES Act, you probably got enough room for lobbyists to drive a truck through shit over here. So I'm kind of curious to think maybe it's not just about the Republicans being all Mitch McConnell, which we know what a son of a bitch that guy could be, as he literally said that if we give them too much money, it will deter people from going back to work. But I wonder if there's some other Republicans out there, maybe more of that libertarian-minded people, the Hawleys, the Pauls, and what they're going to say about it. But fam, I just want to make a point on this whole, we talk about this now here. We've talked about it before. The 800-page bills. Shouldn't we get away from these type of bills when there's just so much and they have to vote in such a little time?
I agree. I agree we should get away from them. I agree that there's a lot of pork in them. I mean, the Republicans are always complaining about that. But I do think that the vast majority of the Republican establishment and the Republican Party are actually against. I heard some of the comments that they were making saying that this is just too much money. It's too expensive. We can't afford it. So the vast majority of them were opposed on giving people any more money because they do think it's too much money. Some of them were complaining about that the Democrats were putting in their own pet projects, which is entirely true. But I think we have to also note the fact that the Republican Party isn't any better than the Democrats when it comes to giving people money, meaning they are stingy, meaning they always say they don't have money for the people, but they have zero problem giving money to the war machine, right? Or to their issues like Wall Street, oil, etc. And I wanted to point that out because I know that while there is pork and while we need to reduce the bills to like a 100 pages, 200, even less than that. If we're talking about direct COVID relief, it could be like a 1 or 2, 3 page bill. Like it doesn't have to be like excessive. But I definitely, a lot of them were on it on the basis of no, like this is too much money. Actually, let me go back to the CNBC article. I'm going to point out a couple things here. It expanded the child tax credit for 1 year, so it'll increase to $3,600 for children under 6 and to $3,000 for kids between 6 and 17. And then $20 billion in COVID relief, which is going to, focus on vaccine distribution, which we know how that's going. And then $350 billion to states relief and $120 billion to schools. And basically that's it. And then of course, like I said, on COBRA, which is the most ridiculous provision that we're going to go into in a minute. But definitely a lot of the Republicans were opposing it because it was so much money and they thought it was too much money. But
I got a couple questions too, fam. Because I know you've been paying attention to stuff. When you start reading, forget about it. Did the Dems give a reason why so many people were left out? I think you said 17 million or something like that of people were left out, or was that Niko who was saying that? There were a lot of people who were left out. You said over 75,000, and those people needed most, you pointed out, because those people are going to have higher bills, and now they're left stuck like Chuck without this money. But did they give a reason why they would do this and stuff, especially coming out of a pandemic when things are not going to go back to the way they are, and a lot of those people who had those high-paying jobs are going to be without them?
Yeah, so they said that they had to negotiate with Republicans because otherwise they weren't going to be able to pass it in Congress and the Senate. And now, in addition to that, they're blaming Joe Manchin, saying, well, Joe Manchin said he was going to vote no on the stimulus if it wasn't negotiated. This has been a talking point that I've even heard progressives use. Well, they had to do it because if not, Joe Manchin would have voted it down, and then they wouldn't have been able to get this money to all the people who needed. While Joe Manchin is a piece of shit, and we all know he is, he's one guy. Like, if the Democrats can't get one guy and, coalesce against this guy, I keep thinking to the Tea Party and Boehner, right? Why did they make Joe Manchin cry? Why did they make Joe Manchin, look like a complete asshole? Right? Yeah. When it comes to, you're going to deny this? You're going to deny what we promised, what we ran on, what gave our party a win? No, that's an excuse. People need to stop giving the Democrats excuses. Way too many people, when I posted about this on my Facebook, were like, well, of course it's Facebook. Oh my God, but Joe Manchin. No, it's stop giving them fucking excuses. They have zero reason to go down. At all. They didn't need the Republican votes. I don't know if people understand that, because my own father was like, oh, but they tried to negotiate. And I'm like, no, they didn't need to negotiate. They have the majority in both houses. This is the Obama administration replaying before us all over again.
I was just about to say that. And it is, I don't know what's more disgusting, fam. Is it the Democrats who do what they do after they promise you all these things, don't give it to you, and they don't even need the Republicans, they lie to you? Or is it the people who defend them? Seeing some of these people that defend them, some of these progressives and stuff, these progressives defending them, I think is grosser, if that's a word, than the actual Democratic establishment doing what they do. And you also mentioned, fam, two other things. School loans. They couldn't even help out in our school loans. You know, once again, not just being election integrity activists. Who the hell voted for this guy? Who the hell voted for Joe Biden? I mean, he didn't do anything with school loans. And the worst thing, you mentioned the creditors.
Yeah.
They're going to grab my income tax check, aren't they?
Exactly. So let's go over a couple of the reactions, because this is like, again, they didn't need Republican votes and they still watered down the stimulus, right? Yeah. So I just tweeted like what they completely neglected on, what they backtracked on. So the Democrats passed the stimulus without a single Republican vote, and they still lowered the unemployment from 600 to 300, refused to give the full 2,000, didn't include the shoo-in $15 minimum wage. And I say shoo-in because it's a 10-year-long battle that people have been fighting, and $15 isn't much of anything in California, New York, or big metropolis cities like that. Retracted on the student debt relief that they were planning. And so, like, what is the point of having Democrats then? Like, all they're set there to do is to show you how bad Republicans are and basically not oppose them. There's no.
They sound nicer, fam.
Basically, I mean, that's basically what it is and what they're there to do. This person, Breonna Taylor was murdered, or DeSanto John said, "How are you not getting this? Republicans would not have passed 2,000, just like they would not have passed 1,400. And here's where you need to connect some dots. Because Dems passed 1,400 without the GOP, it means we could have passed 2,000 because we didn't need the GOP. Like, I don't think enough people understand that yet. Like, they literally reduced everything and went back on everything they promised, and like in the mainstream, not even to progressives. I'm talking about the basic things that they promised. And people are still like, oh, well, thank you. It's like, no, because if you continue accepting scraps, what are you going to get? You're going to continue getting less and less scraps. I'm not saying people didn't need this money right away. There are people that are in desperate situations that need the 1,400 very much, but they always use that as an excuse to say, well, it's better than nothing, right?
Yeah. Always. Like I said, I'm just flabbergasted by some of these people who stand up for this and just allow this behavior and stuff. At what point? You know, I mean, this is the same playbook they've been running for years, but now it's the information age, right? You got shows like this, you got information like that. You can go look it up on you can Google it, Johnny style. Go Google it, which we should say duck, go it or whatever and stuff like that. Now it's a different time. Before the people out there realize that these people are full of shit. They're not going to give you anything, and they're going to continue to spit in your face. The whole thing about him going on the Victory Lap tour, they're going to Georgia first, where they promised, hey, you get the 2 senators across the finish line, you get 2 Jeezels. Then they went back to the 1,400, and people just take it and they accept it, whatnot. I mean, but they're going to still play the card that you got to vote for a Democrat over a Republican because the Republicans are bad. You know what I'm saying? Orange man bad, red team bad, vote against them no matter what. But I mean, this is the whole thing we talk about with the general election. If there was ever a time to hold the line and say, no, we're going to let you burn. We're going to let the orange man take the seat because you're not giving us what you promised us. You're not working for the people, and we're going to move on without you. I mean, this was the year right now for us to move away from the Democratic Party, but their lies, unfortunately, are going to put them right back in the driver's seat. And it's like you said, it's the Obama administration replaying right in front of our very own eyes. Medicare for all? No, we're going to give you Obamacare. And we have the House, the Senate, and the White House. Makes no sense. Why would you put these people back in power?
So, speaking of what you just said regarding the Georgia primary or the Georgia Senate race-off, Steve Cox, who you just interviewed, said, seems like we're about $600 short of your Georgia Senate campaign promises, Mr. Biden. Care to address or not? And then he had that video of the $15.
The one we played, right?
Yeah, we've already played that video. But I mean, there is video evidence of Joe Biden multiple times dated talking about $2,000, $2,000. That $600 was part of the Trump administration. There is zero argument. People are still arguing about this. There's no argument.
Yeah.
Like he promised $2,000 from him, not from Trump, from him.
Yeah.
And I'm just, fam, I have your tweet up here. It's not, there it is. You said less money for less people than Trump gave. No $15 an hour minimum wage, no public option that Joe mentioned in the middle of a pandemic, no student loan debt relief. And by the way, the public option was like, what? It was like not even accepted by the progressives. Like in the middle of a pandemic, you should do better, but they didn't even give you that. But your asses are going on a victory tour. The Democratic Party is trash. Let's dump the duopoly.
Yeah.
Good job, fam.
Good
tweet,
I don't
fam.
think we're gonna get help though, fam. I really do. Just by seeing the rhetoric on Twitter, just seeing the way that people are defending them, they are still, the white saviors out there. Donald Trump, bad.
Right. They have no excuses, though, and this is why we need to keep talking about it, because there is no Donald Trump. Trump's not in office anymore. Okay, he's out. You have both houses. Okay, you have zero excuses. You progressives, neo-progressives, I don't care what you call yourself, need to stop making excuses for any of these people because they don't need them. One, we all need the help here. Everybody is still strayed from COVID, and what they're doing is, now that Biden's president, as you notice, they're opening everything back up, and now they're trying to force people to take a vaccine. That, oh my God, I'm not even going to get into it right on this segment, but there's so many issues with the vaccines all over the place in so many countries that are having issues with blood clots. They're having issues with people fainting or people getting sick from the vaccine. And on top of all of that, right, we still don't have healthcare. We haven't addressed the fact of rent relief or rent, like the fact that people are going to get kicked out. We haven't really addressed the fact that people are going to need money to catch up. And nobody ever got a UBI or anything like that, like they did in other countries. We didn't get 75, 50, or any, like that percentage of your salary if you had a salary. Most people got, a short change, right? Especially if you're making a salary, which makes zero sense as to why you're not going to give people $1,400 if they make over $75,000. That's not a lot of money in California. It's really not. In California, like so much of that goes to your taxes, and then what are you left with? And if you have a family and a mortgage and all these things, it adds up to very, very little, fam. So we're in a tough situation.
We also didn't mention, fam, number one, can't see that. It says the Dems suck right there, so I just want to get that there. But they also lowered the unemployment benefits from 600 to 300.
Yep. Right. And that's I mean, I would love it if they could survive for, if Congress got paid, right? If Congress got paid what they're paying people out, I want to see how quickly things would change. And I just want to reiterate for the end of this segment, like, they didn't need those Republican votes. They didn't need them. They didn't need them. They didn't need them. They could have given you the full $2,000. They could have given you included the $15 minimum wage. They could have included everything else, and they didn't do it. They didn't stick to their guns. They're not fighting for you, especially the squad, especially the progressive caucus of, I think it's like over 100 people that are part of this progressive caucus. Where are they? Where are their complaints? They're all hailing this freaking bill, this piece of trash shit bill that is it's just scraps to the public. Yeah, $1,400. That's not even half of most people's rent in New York. It's not even half of most people's rent in LA. You're gonna tell me that $1,400 is gonna like be this life-saving thing? And fam, that's precisely what they're saying. They're hailing Joe Biden, fam.
Yeah, yeah. And they're going on a victory tour, a lap. You know what I'm saying? They're actually bragging about what they did. I mean, how stupid do they really think Americans are? I mean, did somebody not tell the leaders of the Democratic Party, hey, man, this is a different age right now. They got something called the intranet, and they're going to be able to find out that you're full of shit right now. And right now you're doing the same exact thing. If not, Ilhan Omar said last week that it's embarrassing that the Trump administration is doing more than the Biden administration. But now today, you know, and we'll get into that down the road, blah, blah, blah. Here we are. Bullshit, bullshit, bullshit.